Charles Leclerc has had it with playing nice. The Monegasque didn't pull back the punches after losing third place to Carlos Sainz during the Las Vegas Grand Prix, shocking everyone watching with a radio message that exposed huge internal problems at Ferrari. Stay tuned. Charles Leclerc was left ruining missed opportunities at the Las Vegas Grand Prix, where a promising start turned into a fourth-place finish, the same spot he started in. Leclerc made an electric getaway at the start, overtaking Alpine's Pierre Gasly and Ferrari teammate Carlos Sainz into Turn 1, before setting his sights on race leader George Russell. But a failed attempt to pass the Mercedes driver saw him lose momentum, and he was soon repassed by both Sainz and Gasly. Aggressive use of his medium tyres forced Leclerc to pit as early as lap 10 in the 50-lap race. While he performed better in his next stints on hard tyres, it wasn't enough to reclaim a podium position. Leclerc ultimately finished fourth, sandwiched between Sainz and newly crowned 2024 world champion Max Verstappen, overtaking the latter in the closing laps. I was very excited at the start, in P2. Then unfortunately everything started to go very quickly wrong because I pushed too much on the tyres, Leclerc said afterwards. On the two other sets of hard, we were very strong, but we lost too much on the first set. After being forced into that early pit stop, Leclerc spent the rest of the race clawing his way back into podium contention. The final battle for P3 came after his second pit stop, where he narrowly exited ahead of Sainz. Then came this exchange with his race engineer Brian Bozzi. Carlos has been told to not overtake, but it is really close. You might be just in front. He has been told to not put you under pressure. So just take care of your tyres. But as soon as Sainz blew past him, Leclerc snapped at Bozzi, saying, "Maybe try in Spanish." Carlos Sainz clinched third place in the Las Vegas Grand Prix, finishing 3 seconds ahead of his Ferrari teammate. While Sainz celebrated a solid podium finish, Leclerc's rage was unmistakable, vented in a series of heated radio messages to his race engineer. The tension exposed the intense rivalry within the Ferrari garage. "I must warn you, the following exchange contains heavy vulgarity. Here's what was said. Bozzi, pick up, please. Leclerc, yes, whatever you want, as always. Charles, you did your job. Okay, thank you. Yeah, I did my job, but being nice fucks me over all the fucking time. It's not even being nice, it's just being respectful. Charles, I know I need to shut up, but at one point it's always the same, so, oh my fucking God. Okay, but anyway, you did the right thing for the team. And pick up, please. Yeah, fucking pick up what the f we want. Shit. And the radio is on. I'm sorry, that was on me. And my bad for the first stint, I was driving as well. The Las Vegas Grand Prix wasn't the first time sparks flew between Ferrari's Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz. The duo had previously clashed at the Spanish Grand Prix, where Leclerc was visibly displeased with Sainz's on-track manoeuvres. The Spaniard, however, had a sharp response, fueling the ongoing rivalry between the teammates. It's too many times that he complains after the race about something. Despite several on-track spats throughout the season, Charles Leclerc has maintained that the rivalry with Carlos Sainz is overblown, before this weekend at least. Speaking to Motorsport, Leclerc shrugged off the incidents, insisting that the media has exaggerated the friction between the Ferrari teammates. "I am quite active on social media, so I see what's been said all around. It's blown out of proportion, I think, with Carlos. We have a great relationship." In an interview with Sky Sports F1, Charles Leclerc shed light on the frustrated radio messages he sent to the Ferrari pit wall after the Las Vegas Grand Prix. Every time there's these kind of frustrations, obviously there's not the background for everybody, he explained. There's just no need for me to go into details of everything that's discussed. I won't go further into that discussion. Frustrating, yes. However, it doesn't change anything for the team. It's okay. I think I did my part on the first stint, obviously. When I had the tyres that were completely gone, I didn't want to fight at that point. I let Carlos by. The rest, we will discuss within the team. And when asked if he thinks that there's some sort of Fred Vasseur favouritism in Carlos Sainz's favour, the Monegasque replied, "No, it's not about favouring one or the other. It's about things that we have been told. But that's all good. Again, I've already said too much, so I don't want to go into the details whatsoever." Carlos Sainz has issued a warning to Charles Leclerc following his expletive-filled radio outburst after the Las Vegas Grand Prix. Reflecting on the heated exchange, Sainz emphasised his preference for keeping team matters private. Speaking to Sky Sports F1, the Spaniard made it clear that he values internal discussions over public airing of frustrations. "We were ahead of Lewis, and it had already been a couple of laps since I asked to pit, so it meant that we both were losing a lot of race time at the same time. There was this situation where I had to let Charles by. I lost a lot of time. I am not going to lie. I am pretty unhappy about it. But at the same time, Mercedes was just quicker. I don't like using the radio to complain or to do anything. I don't like using the media to criticize or demonstrate or prove that I am unhappy or not. I prefer to do that behind closed doors because there are never any good outcomes from this kind of comments to the media. The whole situation was a bit messy, and I am the first one who is not happy, but it is what it is. In the official FIA press conference, Carlos Sainz offered more insight into the tense on-track incident with his teammate. Speaking to the media, Sainz broke down the circumstances, providing his perspective on what led to the overtaking drama and addressing the fallout from Leclerc's fiery post-race reactions. He grained the mediums, I got ahead before the pit stops, then I grained my hards, and he was coming quickly behind me, and anticipating what was going to be a situation, because Lewis was right behind Charles. I was sure that the team was going to ask me to let Charles by. I asked the team 2 or 3 times to box me, to get me out of the way and get me a new set of hards, as I was losing a lot of race time by having to let Charles by, and then having to fight Lewis at the same time. For some reason we didn't box, and I ended up having to let Charles by a lap later than was planned and losing a lot of race time, and by the time I was going to box, then we didn't even box. So I guess he's not happy, but I'm also not happy with the way things were handled at the time. No one's happy today in the team, because we all expected a bit more. Ferrari team boss Fred Vasseur has played down Charles Leclerc's expletive-filled radio message following the Las Vegas Grand Prix, insisting that it's not a major issue. Vasseur acknowledged that the incident was discussed internally, but emphasized that he didn't believe it would cause any long-term tension between Leclerc and Carlos Sainz. Explaining the situation, Vasseur pointed out that while Ferrari had tried to avoid unnecessary battles between the teammates, Leclerc was also managing his tyres carefully. He suggested that Leclerc's frustration likely stemmed from not having the full picture of the race situation. Vasseur also noted that Sainz's earlier request for a pit stop had been turned down due to the traffic gap, adding complexity to an already challenging scenario. I'm not worried at all. I think, again, it's always the same story that they have to make comments or they don't have to make comments, Vasseur said. They are doing comments on the slow-down lap, and they don't have always the full picture. We will discuss and it won't be an issue. We have to avoid to fight, but at this stage I think that opening the stint, you have to be on the management side, and Carlos was already at lap 3 or 4 of the stints. I think it's more the fact that the situation was really difficult for everybody, but we will discuss tonight. It won't be an issue. When we're discussing with Carlos for the pit stop, I was explaining that he was in the shadow of Lawson Tsunoda perhaps, and he wanted to pit. We wanted to keep him on track. We were discussing like this, and on top we had to swap, and it was a bit of chaos. But when they are into the car, they have their own vision of the race. Has Ferrari been treating Charles Leclerc unfairly? Or was his radio outburst uncalled for? Tell us your thoughts in the comments section down below. And as always, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Thanks for watching.